Yeah, it took me some 10 plus years to read Death Note. Believe me, it's not one of my smartest decisions taking the time to read this manga series because back when Dark Note came out, and of course the anime came out and it was a huge success, everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody, was telling me you should watch it or you should read Death Note. And I was like, I kind of know what I'm going to say, watch or read. I mean, I would get the first volume and we'll have Light finding the Death Note, maybe testing it. Somebody dies, he freaks out, he dumps it, he has a huge inner turmoil about using it again. But something tragic happens, and so he takes back the Death Note, he writes a name, and it would take us 2 or 3 volumes to CL. Yeah, right. That's not it. I mean, in the first chapter of the first volume, within 20 pages, Light has taken the Death Note. He has learned how to use it. He has killed, I don't know, 2 soccer teams or something. I mean, he even goes out and kills some Tokyo Chavs. So, what the hell? From the head start, we go deep into Death Note because we see L within the first volume, and this is the first volume, or at least the first volume I've read. Death Note has a brilliant idea. It's straight out of the Twilight Zone. You have a magical notebook, you write a name, and somebody dies. It's everything an emo teen dreams of, and it was made in the mid 90s where emo teens were the norm. No, it was the mid zeros. It's not just a brilliant idea. Actually, the Death Note is more like a gimmick to get to the core of the manga. And the core of the manga is the cat and mouse game Light and L play throughout the story. And other characters get involved too. Big part of the story is those 2 guys trying to think what the other one would think. So we have constant battle of wills as 2 brilliant teenagers try to find out what the other one would do and what is logical. And that's something that is not as much fun most of the time. It's called games theory. And games theory, it is a field of economics where you have 2 or more players, entities that may be individuals or organizations that take part in a common game. So we have them competing or working together, and they try to take the decision that would give them the most profit, assuming, of course, that everybody else will make a logical decision to do the same. So you try to predict your opponent's decisions in order to get the best decision, the best result out of it. For instance, if you have 2 enterprises that sell notebooks, right? And they set their price in a way that they get the best profit out of it. But they assume that their rival will do exactly the same and will make the most rational decision too, and that is a factor. And that leads to some very complex systems, some very complex mathematics with lots of parameters. And I mean, the guy who is tied to this scientific field, John Nass, yeah, he was the guy in The Beautiful Mind. It was not a great story. So, in a way, Death Note is games theory 101. It's the main idea is that you have these 2 characters and some other characters coming along the way, and they try to think what would the other would do, and they make counter plans. They try to think the counter plans of the other person, and you get some this thriller. You balance on the razor blade as you see how one comes up with a plan to the other's counter plan, and how they dance around each other and try to find each other's identity. Because L wants to find out, to get evidence that Light is the killer, Kira, and Light wants to find L's name to kill him. It's like Sherlock and Moriarty, but Moriarty is the main character. Light is one of those amazing villains in the story. He is so very flawed, he is very smart, and it's kind of, you want to see him punished, but you also want to see how he'll escape this time. He is not as sympathetic as somebody like Walter White from Breaking Bad. He was a great character, and his heart is in the right place, I guess. What he's trying to do is noble in a way, but it's perverted. Before starting Death Note, I was expecting some ultra-violence. It was a Final Destination movie, when you have your villain of the week, and Light writes down his or her name and they die in some other way, but it's not that. It's a much deeper story, and violence is minimal in this manga, and anytime one of the two main combatants seem to go ahead and winning, we have a twist and the balance goes the other way. At some point you start to think, oh, it's starting to get tired, and then the mangaka, Tsugumi Oba, that's the name of the scriptwriter, throwing other characters, other players in the struggle, such as Misa, who is looking for Kira, and she also has Death Note. And we have Light's father, and he is the link between Light and L. And then you have other Kiras, and yeah, even the Shinigamis, the gods of death, that lost their Death Notes, have their own plans, and they're aliens. They're not thinking as people. They have different rules applying to them, and they also have their plans, and they also want to get the best out of the situation. So you have a very complex web of intelligent players trying to do the best out of the situation. And yes, that's game theory. If you want to teach game theory to anybody, have them read Death Note. And you may say, okay, you're overreacting. And yes, you see players making some decisions that may seem rational, but yeah, they are out of the story for good, because it's called Death Note, not Happy Living Note. You get that? And you have this, feel this thrill, what's going to happen, who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. That's great. You're not sure that anybody would get out of this alive. It's called Death Note, alright? And it gets so complex that you can follow the story without a PhD in games theory to understand what's going on, which is great. But at the same time, the characters are intelligent, and the author can convey that they are, or maybe smarter than they should be, but it's a manga. It's a shonen mangas, and some manga characters are often have abilities way above average. It's that kind of a spoiler, this part of it here. I'm sorry for that. If you don't want to be spoiled, just press the like button, subscribe, and close this video. Alright? Alright, the rest of you who don't mind to be spoiled because you have watched Death Note, or because you don't care about spoilers, something that makes this game theory idea much more prevalent is the ending of the manga, because we have a Gordian knot. We have a lot of plans amongst plans in Death Note, and it's almost impossible to have Kira arrested by the end of it. But it happens because some of the characters, some of the players don't act rationally. They don't act in a logical way, and while Light is expecting them to act in the most rational, logical way possible, they don't. And that's his downfall, because he thought that in games theory everybody's rational, but somebody's doing something irrational, something stupid. And that's the end of it. That's how the tragedy ends, because he overestimated his opponents. He got away because he thought his opponents were smart, and he keeps thinking of that, but his opponents are stupid. And it's one other example of stupidity reigning supreme in the universe. Yeah, that's how Death Note is Games Theory 101. Hope you like this video. If you haven't read or watched the Death Note anime, go ahead, read that. It's a great story. Just avoid the Netflix movie because I've heard the worst about it. Hope you like this video. Hope you pressed the like button and subscribe when I told you to before the spoilers. But if you haven't, you have another chance to do so, and I'll see you soon with another video. Thank you for watching.